I I was I was gonna go over the stuff that I've been doing and Tulsa People and just
Yeah,
go from there.
same stuff. So, as promised, it's time for us to go back and visit with our old friend Tom Holliday. He writes the What the Ale column for Tulsa People, and he's been brewing beer since you were, was it 13 or 14?
Well, I started when I was 13.
So, a
Tom,
long
Tom,
time ago with his dad over in Germany, which is really cool. I've got a friend who loves to do that with his son too, kind of something you pass along. Now, I mentioned to many people, beer is just beer, but in Tulsa, it's become so much more. When did it really explode here, Tom?
oh, that's a Marshall Brewing started it out starting a brewery, and then it just sort of went on and on and on from there. We got the laws changed to more recently was Bill 792 and allowing stronger beer sales in tap rooms and that helps that helps everybody. It helps the small businessman. That's what I'm about. I'm about the small businessman making a product, selling it locally. The money stays in town, and it's a great product. I mean, the Tulsa breweries have been outstanding. And I go all over the place when I go to out of town and just try these other breweries out. And Tulsa stands up to any of those guys.
And Marshall, as you mentioned, started it. There are even people who come here now for tours to brew Tulsa. Now, I know one of the things you do for Tulsa people is you kind of keep up with the current happenings. And I mentioned on my radio show, a lot of people believe that beer is beer. You know, you go and you buy a six pack at wherever, but it's not nowadays. It's not just a craft. It may be month to month. It could be week to week. A lot of times it's what's fresh. So, what's fresh right now, Tom?
Well, what you said is true. It's not necessarily beer. I mean, nothing's left is I did a story in this month's Tulsa People, and they make slushies, they make smoothies, soft serve. I mean, they make stuff with beer. Their stouts have peanut butter in them, and it's and they're delicious. I mean, people think they don't like beer. Well, they need to go to Nothing's Left and just try something that they have because I guarantee you that they like it and they'll like it. And it's fun to see how they've grown too. They started contract brewing in Oklahoma City with Anthem, and then just to get their name out in the market, they were going to beer festivals and on just and of course I was first person. Oh, you're from Tulsa. Let me do a story on you,
Yeah.
and have watched them grow. They bought an old Texaco station like Sixth and Rockford and luckily, their families are in contracting businesses, and I mean, the place was a car detail shop, and it was a mess. I mean, complete mess. And they've turned this location into a beautiful location. It's got an outside bar, not tap room, but outside area where you can drink your beers and bring your dogs. It's pet friendly, and that's another thing that I always love is if I can take my pets to go have a beer, it'd be great. And they also have they just recently have expanded, and they have a place where you can rent, for weddings, you can parties, anniversary. I mean, it's a really nice area, and it's also has a bar in it, and they've been doing really well. I think during the Christmas time, their Christmas parties, they had something every week. So this is the success that I'm talking about. They started out with just one beer, and now they're distributing. They make non-alcoholic beers. It's a lot of fun to see how they've grown.
Yeah, we talked about the hard ciders and things like that because you mentioned it's not just beer for those who are like, well, I'm not a beer person. Well, I'm not going to be one of those. Well, you haven't tried my liver, kind of thing. But at the same time, it has changed. Now, what are we getting to in spring that we're coming out of winter? How are some things changing there?
Oh, usually, in the winter, you have a little bit darker beers. You stay inside more, and you don't, you want to have a winter warmer is what they call them. Something that you have one beer and just you feel good. Well, you're outside now. You're springtime, and you're working outside. You're getting a sweat. So sometimes, I mean, IPAs are coming back. Some pale ales, not necessarily uh, super strong, but also. I just did a story on Pearl Beach Brew Pub, and it's probably one of the only volleyball centric places that actually brew beer. And I'm doing another story on them later on next month. But for a beer of the week that I did at Tulsa People, we did a story on Bunny Lumberjack, and it's like a 5% lager, and it's, real clean tasting. So lagers are coming back into style, not style, but into season. Sometimes they never go out of season, but the lagers come back, IPAs, thirst quenchers, those type things. But Mitch Hull over at he's a brewmaster at Pearl Beach, but he also does Rapture Brewing Company. And getting to know people like that is just fun to that's what I like about it. I mean, the people. I mean, it's beers, yes, but the people are really important too. But
And
that's a really good beer to try out over at Pearl Beach.
when Tom's
They're
going, I mean, we're not, we're talking about, as I said, we're not talking about, hey, let's buy a case and pound it. That's not the point. The point
right.
is to have something with a wonderful flavor and experience that with some other people, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and these beers, I mean, the hops that they're coming up with now, they're just all over the place. I mean, a little bit more citrusy, it's not all bitter. Sometimes it's a little bit sweeter on these hop profiles that we have. And that's another thing that's fun is just when the brewing came to pass, in the last 5 or 10 years, craft brewing industry, all these new varieties of hops have come up, and they're just all over the place. I mean, it's really fun to watch that too.
When we get to this time of year, we talk about it being a little bit lighter and that kind of thing. And I'm really sorry I missed you for St. Patrick's Day because I really wanted to get into what people were brewing
They
for
were,
that. We'll do that again next year. But
yeah.
we get this time of year, how much local stuff? I think about honeys. They talk about how honey, if you go to a certain place, it's going to taste different because of what the bees are pollinating from. Are we using any local stuff? I mean, are there flowers? Are there plants? Are there things happening locally, not just the hops, that get used in beers?
Well, that's every year, and I'm pretty certain they'll probably do it again this year. Heirloom Rustic Ales, they're on Admiral near Lewis. They collect dandelions and the flowers, and they add that to a beer, and oh my gosh, that beer is so good. It's amazing the flavor that you get out of it. It's not a heavy beer; it's just a really light, refreshing drink. But they do that every year, and they have like a let's go get the dandelions and have it. Everyone. It's a community event. So they've had a part of making this beer, which is really cool. Bringing everyone in, and then they get that. Their spoils of their labor. They get to drink it. So it's
Yeah.
awesome.
That is really cool. What else is on your horizon? I know because you're always looking for the new things or the different things or the events that are happening. I just thought you mentioned some of the volleyball thing. They just opened, the courts and commons where they're doing pickleball with the court and they've got a bar out there and everything. We can't be very far from a pickleball pub, can we?
I would think not. I mean, it's that's a growing sport. I've played it a few times and love it. And it's one of those things you're having fun. You have a pint afterwards. It's one of those deals. I don't know of one yet. I know that there was one. I'm not sure which one it was, but they had a good selection of beers, and I think it was, you buy it on your own type thing. I'm not sure. I never visited it there. But I did a story on Angry Scotsman. They're out of Oklahoma City, but they distribute here in Oklahoma or in Tulsa, and they have started. It's sort of a funny story with their. They have a hazy IPA that they came out with, and it's called Rocket Ship. And Ross Harper over at English. He's the head, owner and head brewmaster, and he's got a 4-year-old, and they come up with these. His daughter comes up with the names for some of these beers, and it's just hilarious. And it's a family affair. 4-year-olds coming up with beer names. He's had some that's called Chaos Monkey, Zombie Cuckoo, Boogie Sauce, Herding Cats, and then the Rocket Ship, which is one he just came out with, which is distributing here. But they also have come up with some really, really good seltzers. And that's one of the things I sort of like. I'm not really a seltzer guy, just because the mainstream seltzers are just like awful to me. I mean, they have
I
this
agree.
awful taste. And these, which are quite potent, they're 8.5%. He's got let's see what it's called, brunch plans, which is mango, pineapple, and Tahiti flavors. It's like a mimosa. And he says you can mix this with other stuff because it is so strong. You might not want to take, if you're having a brunch and that's maybe too much.
Yeah,
And then he
Granny
also
comes
has
stumbling into the car, right?
yeah, exactly. And then his other one is oh, what is it called? It's blackberry. He's got brunch plans and then blackberry. Whoa, blackberry. Yeah, that's what I was. And I like it really well. It's not too sweet, and it just has a really good flavor. And these seltzers, that's what's fun about these guys are creating these drinks. I mean, they're all over the place. And he probably initially didn't even think about making the seltzer, and now seltzers are becoming popular. And that's one of the things that has a lot more competition on the store shelves. I mean, you go to a liquor store now or a grocery store, and there are just rows and rows and rows of different kinds of drinks you can have.
Yeah, which is really cool. And a lot of those, as you mentioned, are locally. We have seen so many of the great brew pubs open and come to Tulsa, and most have survived. Do you know of any new that are on the way or what's new on the horizon?
Actually, yes, there's one that probably will open. I mean, they're very close. New story. It's near Neff Brewing Company, and I couldn't tell you the exact address, but it's near the box yard downtown. I don't know if you know where
I
that
do,
is,
sure.
but it
Yeah.
is. This place is going to be huge. You got a huge back yard where you can go and relax, and I'm sure we'll have games and cornhole and all that. But the best thing about it is the view of downtown. I mean, it just opens up to the downtown Tulsa's skyline. It is just gorgeous. And there was a brewery in Oklahoma City that did not make it, and is Elkins Brewing, and they have got the recipes to brew their beers, and it's Elk Valley, and it was amazing. I mean, that was one of those ones that I didn't want to go away, and so I'm glad that they got the recipes for these beers, and they also have some really good recipes. They've been to brewing, um, exhibits, and I've tried their beer. They've been to the zoo, the festivals, and stuff like that. So
That's
new
fun.
stories coming. It'll be here next couple months. I know they have signage up, so it's really close.
All right, so explain people how to find your stuff in Tulsa People. Pretty simple.
Yeah, TulsaPeople.com. Pretty much it's my stuff all over the place, from brewing to concerts to events. I mean, they've been great to me, allowing me to have my outlet there. So it's been very, very good. I love the Tulsa people.
Yeah, Tom and I are both veterans of big media, if you will, and are very, very happy in our not quite so big media areas right now, I would say, right?
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely happy.
Yeah, me too. All right, so give us an idea. When we get next month and we start talking more towards summer, what will we be visiting about? What will start to change, Tom?
Well, again, the lighter beers, the lake beers will come out, and I know that like Marshall Brewing Company, they just got the contract with Quick Trip for quitting time. And I don't, I'm not old enough to be legal to drink that, but I remember it, and especially the commercials with Lamar. And I remember maybe had a taste of it and it wasn't very good back in the day. Of course, I can't say that legally. Well, I guess I can now. It's terms have passed, but uh, that beer was not that great then. But Marshall's got a new recipe out of it. It's really easy drinking. I took the dogs out to Gathering Place and had some over at Marshall Brewing Company, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is hit the spot. So that thirst quenchers are what's going to be hitting here pretty soon. But pick up a quick trips quitting time, and Marshall Brewing's brewing it, and they're distributing in Wichita and St. Louis and Kansas City, I believe. So this is great for Tulsa. That just proves that they can get the product out and make quality products from the masses. So
Well, and it's also really cool that a Tulsa company and a Tulsa company are going to marry because you can't,
exactly.
not just the traditionals that you'd be able to get to be able to walk in there, which makes to me, I think, is a really cool thing. We're just very fortunate to be living in this time. Now, I remember those Lamar commercials too, and I got to tell you, I long for the time with Lamar and then Ernest was doing
Right?
Brahms commercials, right? That's not such a bad time, my friend. The beers weren't as
No,
good, but everything else wasn't awful at all.
no, those were fun times, especially watching TV. At least they come up with new ideas all the time. So,
Absolutely right. Well, say hello to Karen for me, and thank you very much for the visit. We're going to catch up with you again next month.
all right. Thanks, Rick.